Moana Pasifika, awesome result in the stadium. What a win! What an Artie grubber. It looks like when I see Vision in the coaching box, geez, you guys look like you're having a fun season.
Yeah, it's actually surprising, isn't it? Because it goes against my usual character. I'm usually pretty straight, but the energy in our box is infectious. It's hard not to get caught up in it, and I think we're enjoying the moment just as much as the players are. So you'll see plenty of cheering and yahooing and just enjoying the moment, and I think that's a good thing. I've had a few of my friends comment about that, about the animation that I've been showing in the box is a bit different than what I usually have. But as you get older, I think you'll learn to value those little wins and those small moments. So why not celebrate them with the players?
And you've been with this team for a couple of seasons now. What's changed? What have you seen the development areas, and where's the growth come from?
Yeah, we had a really good review at the end of last year, and look back actually at the 3 years that the club had been around, and we spent a little bit of time working on our fitness levels. We invited boys to come back in early. We started in October. It was voluntary; they didn't have to come in, but some of them were shoulder tapped, particularly the boys that didn't move off to international rugby. So we had that opportunity to invite them to come, and coaches were available, had our trainers on the grass. So we had some really good buy-in there. That's the first thing that changed. We've still got some work to do in that area, but it was nice to have 20 odd players training through the October month into the start when we assemble in November. The other thing is we've really worked hard on is simplifying our game, understanding what we're good at, profiling our team, and then looking at what's going to work for the side, what are the skill sets they bring, and based around some of the fitness levels. We've probably played a lot of rugby in the wrong parts of the field. So tactically, I think we've been a bit smarter this year. And if you look at the stats and compare yourself to other teams, the teams that are competent and generally winning matches, they're very focused on the right parts of the field. And it can look good running around in the middle of the field and trying for opportunities to score, but the teams that are really calculated and get themselves in the right parts of the field are the teams that are successful. So we've taken a lesson out of the successful teams that have been winning, and not always have we been able to replicate that, but by and large, I think that's been a big improvement. And then some of the off-field habits, Peter. I think we've put a bit of emphasis on being a good pro, how much time you need to do preparing for a week, for a day within a week, what game day looks like, just the habits that you would expect anybody coming into a professional environment would have. I think that's been a big change. And then obviously Artie coming in, and it's just added some self-belief that you have a World Player of the Year coming into our environment and choosing to play for us. It's just grown the arm and leg on these boys, and you can't put anything on top of no self-belief. So regardless of what we do, the first priority is to create some self-belief. Now, we can tell them all we like, but when you end up with a player like Artie coming in and leading by example, that's a huge statement for us and for rugby in general, I think.
How did you get that off-field messaging across? I think when you're, say, in one of the biggest Super Rugby franchises, or you go through a rugby academy, you have flatmates, you're all in it together, and you kind of monkey see, monkey do. You step in, you see, oh, right, that's how a pro prepares for training. That's what he's having for breakfast. Oh, he's getting some notes down before training. So you see all that stuff. I would say that the Moana boys' training age was pretty low, right? When they're coming in, the professional age of the athlete. So how did you get guys to set up their days? How'd you go about that?
Look, Tana was really heavily involved in putting together a journal, like a diary that the boys bring to training every day. And also we split the boys into groups where they can share their journal with various members of the group. So I work with the locks, Orlando works with the loose fours, etc. And so you've got a smaller group operating. It's not, you don't get lost in the numbers. They sit down and they bring the daily plans to you. looking at what their week would look like. From, as you've mentioned, from the moment you get out of bed in the morning, what does it look like as far as your prep goes before you even do your gym work? The rehab that needs to go on, or we call it prehab. The boys having to work on parts of their body that have injured, because that's usually a precursor to another injury if you don't look after those old injuries that we all pick up as we age.
What are some of the things, like you mentioned there, around prehab and physio, like that? The body is sometimes the easier stuff to do, right? Gym sessions, strength, speed, body. What about the mental preparation?
Yeah, look, we've got people come in and speak to our boys about mental prep, and there's opportunities for them to do one-on-one sessions. We've also put some of our senior players up in front, and they've given stories and spoken around how they do it, their routines. It is an area that I don't think New Zealand or Southern Hemisphere rugby does as well as possibly the big Northern Hemisphere teams, even into the American sides, where they put a lot of emphasis on the mental skills. Where I think we might have one person that comes in and delivers sessions to our boys. We've started to do that a little bit more regularly, with opportunities for them to pick up the science behind the mental strengths. But largely, it's up to the boys to pick up on those trends that are common in modern day sports, and we help them as much as we can as coaches, because we will have a part to play in that as well. I think the message is really clear around how they need to prepare every week. They get that pretty much rammed down their throat. So the mental skills side of things is a constant. I don't think you ever really nail it, because the game's constantly moving. You as an athlete are changing the whole time. What the coach wants of you is changing all the time, and being across changes and how you change it as an athlete are really crucial. So we do provide resource, but it is an area that we have to work really hard on, I think.
And one thing that when I was with the group, I came up and worked with the group December, January. So first question, any feedback there? But one of the clear things was Pacific excellence, and how that message just keep coming across. How's that been driven into the team, and how often do you talk about Pacific excellence?
Constantly. It's been largely driven by Tana. He's done a marvellous job at focusing on the excellence of those that have gone before us. I mean, not just in rugby too, it's across Pacifica in general. And we get people to come in and speak to the boys around any area that we can get our hands on, actually. And there's been some awesome role models get up in front of our group and just tell their stories. We had
examples that have been
Savage come in and speak to the boys around his time in the UK, in the USA. That was a pretty awe-inspiring moment for the boys. Most of them listened to his music, and he's a big fan. And having him in the room with us was pretty special. We had David Tua come and speak to the boys about his time as an athlete, leaving the islands to come to New Zealand for a better opportunity. And there's been plenty. Those stories funnel into Tana's message around excellence. We are a sports team. We're obviously driven largely by Pacific Island rugby players, and we provide an opportunity for these boys to display excellence. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, not only with what we do on the field, but as you've already mentioned, the work that we do off the field as well is just as important. So we're in the community in the North Shore.
Yeah,
the boys do that really gracefully. I'm always pleasantly surprised by how keen they are to get out into the community and give back. And that's a big part of what these boys do. They're about family, they're about community, giving back, being humble, being respectful. They do that really well. And it just ties into Tana's message. And most of the men that we've had speak to the group are Pacific Island people that have gone on and done great things, but they still remain humble and true to their faith and to their culture, which is cool.
Has there been any clear messages from the speakers around risk-taking, stepping out of the comfort zone, hard work? Has there been any sort of clear messaging coming across from those speakers?